Days away now from Budget 2020 in India. The Modi government will be presenting its fiscal roadmap. In a way, it is one of the most anticipated budgets because of the global economic slowdown. The expectations are high, but the choices are somewhat limited. Either spend more and expand the fiscal deficit or cut down on expenditure and hence the growth. So what will it be over the course of this week? We are speaking to experts to get a better sense of that. Dr. Vahigurupal Singh Sidhu, professor at the Center for Global Affairs, New York University, is now joining us from New York for more on that. Thanks very much for speaking with us. What do you expect from the budget? What is your wish list looking like?
So I think there's two ways you can think about this budget. One is in a populist way. And the other is in a progressive way. Given everything else that's been happening, I suspect it's likely to be more populist than progressive. It's going to try and target or support the base, of this particular government. But so far, the indications are not that it's been very, very progressive. And that's unfortunate.
What sort of reforms are required in the economy is also something that has been talked about.
Well, I think the most drastic kinds would be necessary simply because, the budget is, the economy is stagnated. All the indications of that are not good at all. And frankly, the kind of reforms which we would require are the kinds of reforms which happened in either 1991-92 budget or 96 budget. And those are both very radical reforms which were done. And it's just not clear that this government will be able to do those kind of radical reforms to open up the economy much more. Because at one level, it's much more risky, but at another level, it's also very incompatible with what the government is doing in the other areas.
The IMF report says that the Indian economy has created a drag on the world economy, also sharing his perspectives on that.
I think that's a very accurate assessment because in many ways, the IMF was very much looking at countries like India to revive and rejuvenate and push the global economy, particularly at a time when other economies are slowing down. But essentially, India has not stepped up to the crease, as it were. And it has not been able to, do the radical reforms that are required. Let's take a very simple example. India could have benefited from the US-China trade war by sort of encouraging more investment to come into India. But unfortunately, that has not happened. And countries like Vietnam and even South Korea are the beneficiaries of that diversion. And that tells you fundamentally that something is really wrong with the Indian economy and the inability to get out of the rut.
And is the social unrest in India taking a toll on the economy, according to you?
That's a very good question, but I would flip it around. I actually think that the economy is one of the factors behind the social unrest. There are many reasons for the social unrest. Some of them are directly related to the challenge to the Indian Constitution that, this government's policies have put forward. But let's also be very clear that it's also a reflection of this government misreading the mandate that it received. The mandate it received in the last election was not for more Hindutva. It was for Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. It was for more development. and the narrative of development has totally disappeared. Let's just take one statistics. Economists have said that India needs to produce or create 1 million jobs a month, because India has one of the biggest, if not the biggest, youth population in the world. And yet, look at the job creation numbers. They're nowhere close to that, because that would require something like 12 million jobs a year. And I think it's partly a frustration on that account that you're also seeing the social unrest. So I would actually say that it's the lack of progress on the other fronts, particularly on the economic fronts, which is also contributing to the social unrest.
Thanking Dr. Wahaipul for that, and also taking a quick break at this point. WION Sports coming up on the other side. Stay with us.